the elements defined by the number of protons and the atomic number. So an element is defined by, let's say, an element, for example, let's say sodium, potassium. Element like potassium, which is 19 protons, 19 electrons, 19 protons, and has 39.0983. The same number like protons, it's actually defined. An atom is defined by the amount of protons there is. So the amount of protons, if an atom has one proton, is a helium atom. It's a hydrogen atom because it has one proton. If it's a potassium atom, it has 19 protons. If it has 19 protons, it has. So if it's 6 protons, it's a chlorine atom. If it has 12 protons, then it's a zinc atom. So basically the amount of protons in an atom tells us what the atom is. If it's gold, silver, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, they all have different amounts of protons, and the proton number is always written on the top. So that's why you see on the periodic table, you always see hydrogen 1, hydrogen, helium 2, calcium, lithium 2, beryllium 4, and so on and so on. Right, because the amount of protons, this makes a different element. So each element has different amount of protons. So the amount of protons an atom has, it means that that is the type of element you would get. So if an atom has 19 protons, and it's significant because it tells you that this is the type of atom it is. In this case, this is a potassium atom. That means the name that's given to this number is called the atomic number. This is the atomic number. It's the atomic number because it tells you what type of atom it is. The mass number will tell you how heavy it has something to do with weight. That's how you know the difference. So usually the atom, the symbol for it is written like this. You have the symbol in the middle. You have the mass number is written here. At the bottom is the atomic number. Sometimes it's written the other way. Say for example, sometimes it's written the other way, but for example, neon. Neon, the symbol for neon is Ne. The atomic number is 10 and the mass number is 20. Okay, so losing and gaining electrons. What are losing and gaining electrons? Well, sometimes an atom, so like this, can become negatively and positively charged. When an atom is by itself, say an atom is like this on the periodic table, it has electrons, it's pretty stable because that means the amount of electrons is equal to the amount of protons, electrons, right? So they're equal, they have no charges, they balance themselves out. But sometimes an element can become charged, become negative or positively charged. How does that work? It's pretty simple. Let's take sodium for example. Sodium, the amount of protons is 11. Mass number is 23. That means the amount of protons is 11 protons. So the number of electrons would have to be 11 also. And the the amount of neutrons has to be if the amount of neutrons is equal to the amount of protons and the mass number is 23, then the amount of neutrons must be 12, because 12 and 11 is 23. So you have an atom like this, right? It's pretty new. It has 11 electrons, 11 protons. It's stable. They both cancel each other out. So this is a sodium atom. So if it has the amount of protons and the amount of electrons is equal to 11, then they cancel each other out, right? So they cancel each other out. So, but what happens is that this atom, even though it's the charge is neutral, the atom itself is not stable. It's not a stable atom, because it's, for an atom to be stable, I mean, the entire shell has to be filled. It's like having a stadium with the shells are empty. The shells, the more the shells of the atom is full, the more stable the atom is. So usually what happens is that another atom comes along. Let's say another sodium atom comes along, or another type of atom comes along, and it attaches itself to this. It passes next to this atom. This atom here. So what usually happens is that the atom can either lose an electron or gain 7 electrons in order for the outer shell to be stable. It's easier, when you look at a thing that has less work, it's easier to take one, for the atom to lose 1 electron rather than to gain 7. So that's usually what happens. So when it loses 1 electron, so when it loses this 1 electron here, see, lose the electron is gone. It has 10 protons. 10 protons. So now it still has 11 protons, but now it has 10 protons. Now it still have 12 neutrons, but the amount of now it only have 10 electrons. Right? It has less electrons. So this means it has a charge of 11 plus, and it has a charge of 10 minus. So if it has 11 protons and only 10 electrons, when they come together, one proton will remain, one positive charge will remain. Right? It's simple. It just has more protons than electrons. So the extra electron would give you, which is protons, a positive charge. Extra proton, which is positive charge, would give you an extra charge. So it has a positive and extra electron of one proton, extra 1 proton, because 11 plus minus 10 would be positive 1. So it has just simply positive 1 charge. So you write this as whatever it is, sodium 23, 11, 23, 200, like this is fine. Has a plus charge of plus charge. Positive charge ion such as positivity market. Right, so 9, where 9 and 9 is 9 is 18, 1 28. 9 is 18. That means that if it has, that means we have 19 as section 1. Is equal to 19, which is equal to the number of protons. So if we know the number of protons is 9 and we want to find number of neutrons, we know the number of neutrons is equal to the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. Gives us the mass number, which is 19. The mass number is 19, so the mass number is equal to the number of proton neutrons. So the mass number is equal to the number of protons. We want to find the number of neutrons, so we say we let neutrons be x. So 19 is equal to 9 plus x, so x is equal to 10. So the number of neutrons is 10. So that means the number of electrons would be equal to 9. So you draw 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8. No, wait, this is wrong. So now the atom gains 1 electron. It has 8 electrons. An atom comes along and gains 1 electron. Now it has 9 electrons on the outer shell, so it has the same number of protons. Number of neutrons is the same, but now it has an extra electron. So instead of 9 electrons, it has 10 electrons. So if you add up the electrons, neutron electrons, you get an extra -1. So now the atom has a charge of -1. Makes sense because it has an extra charge, a negative charge. So it makes it negatively positive.